Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm Tracie Arlington with Play It Safe Defense. As a black belt and a nationally certified self-defense instructor, I've seen a lot and I've heard a lot. So what we're going to do is put together a series of campus safety videos. Please hit the subscribe button so that every time we add some more material, you'll be notified. I'm here with my friend Aly, who's a college student, and we're going to talk about those things that you should know to be prepared and be more aware when you get on your college campuses. So let's talk about safety not only on campus but in your sorority. Yeah, do you remember anything they told you at college, your freshman orientation?
I remember one presentation that was specifically about alcohol and how to be safe when drinking, and they made us all get out our phones and put in the phone number for a campus ride safe program. Well, they'll pick you up and take you back, but that's pretty much the only thing from that first week that I still remember. And
tell me about your sorority. Like what kind of safety precautions did they have, set in place for you?
One cool thing that they do, I think, is we have a Sober Sister program for all of the events. So there's a certain percentage of all the girls that volunteer to stay sober during the whole event and like keep an eye on all of our members and their dates and guests and make sure that they call the taxis and they get everybody home safely.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of their responsibility is to make sure that everybody's safe during the event.
Oh, that's great. Let me ask you this. Have you heard that sorority or fraternity parties can be safer than house parties?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, what do you think that would be?
Maybe just because of the familiarity of the group. Mostly it's people that you know as opposed to random people at a house party.
Right, and I'm assuming too that, a lot of times there's guest lists, there's bouncers at the door. But with house parties, and this is what we really want you to know, guys, is that sometimes with a house party, those texts are going out all over the city. You've got people coming into that party that don't even go to that university. So God forbid there's a sexual assault or a fight or some type of violence, the police might not even be able to find the actual perpetrator. Pretty scary, huh?
Yeah, that is true that the sorority events, we have a list of all the guests. You have to be registered a day in advance and they give you a wristband and check your ID to confirm that you're actually one of the people on the list to be there. So I hadn't thought of that.
That's good to know.
Okay, so earlier when you asked me about the fraternity and sorority parties being safer than house parties, is that because most of these sexual assaults are taking place at house parties when there is no guest list and there are random people showing up?
It can be, but believe it or not, stranger sexual assaults are really only 10% of the statistics. The statistics show that 90% of the time you're going to know your attacker. In fact, do you know the difference between date rape and acquaintance rape?
No.
Yeah, most people don't. So date rape is date, right? It could be like a first date where the guy's coming on too strong, or maybe he's even dropped something in your drink, or he got you drunk and then he didn't ask for consent, okay? Or it could be someone that you've been dating for a while. Did you know that 10% of intimate partner violence or intimate partner violence is 10% of attacks? So this is someone that's been dating her boyfriend or her girlfriend for a while. And we see intimate partner violence is a lot higher in the gay community as well. Yeah. So that's date rape. Acquaintance is anybody else that you are acquainted with. So, what we hear is, I saw a guy that I knew from my math class, or my friend's friend, or my friend's boyfriend's friend, or my frat brother. I had a student tell me once that she was partnered up with a fraternity brother who was like totally stellar, knight in shining armor during the daytime. Get a few drinks in him, he became a completely different animal. No pun intended. Did they go over the college statistics for sexual assaults?
If they did, I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing actually. They say that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 20 guys will be sexually assaulted over that 4-year undergrad time frame.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Now, why do you think?
I honestly don't know, but if I had to guess, I would say it has something to do with all of the events that are kind of surrounding alcohol parties.
Yeah,
things
you
like that.
nailed it. It's called the red zone. And the red zone is basically like the end of August into November. That is the most dangerous period, or it has the highest, statistically, the highest rate of sexual assaults during the school year. So over 50% of sexual assaults happen during the red zone. And I think that's because that's when everyone's kind of like meeting new friends. They're getting acquainted, they're getting comfortable, they're away from their mom and dad. Woo! Have you ever heard the term fresh meat? Fresh meat for freshmen, yeah. So freshmen tend to report more sexual assaults versus any other grade. And then another thing that I was wondering too is, did you know that over 85% of sexual assaults involve alcohol?
No.
Yeah. And lastly, one thing that I really want the college students to know and be prepared for is that only 20% of college students actually report it. And we'll talk about that next. Here's something that I think everybody needs to know, and that's the yes means yes law. Do you know what that is?
I don't know what it says, but I think it's some kind of consent law.
Absolutely, yeah. It talks about consent. And what do you think that means?
Honestly, all that I really know is that if you're drunk, you can't give consent. That's really all that I know about it.
No, that's a huge part of it, but you know what? It goes even deeper than that. The yes means yes law used to be in the old days, we'd say no, and then the person would have to stop. And this could be a guy too. I'm not talking, a guy pressuring a female into sex. It could be same sex, a guy, girl on guy. But used to be in the old days, you'd have to say no. Well, now you have to say yes. So, and we're talking step by step. Can I kiss you? You have to say yes. Can I do this? You have to say yes all the way through. And then, believe it or not, if you go out on another date with the same person, technically they're supposed to go through that list again and ask you yes, if they have consent. Where it gets pretty gray though is the law says if you're under the influence of drugs or alcohol, it automatically becomes non-consensual, right? But where the law gets really gray is, what if he's drunk and she's drunk, and then she consents, and then she wakes up the next day and says, hey, I didn't want to do that, I was pressured into it. So that's why it's really important. Sex is like signing a contract, I think. You're not going to buy a car without signing a contract. Having sex is kind of contractual too, and so being sober really is the best way to approach intimacy.
So a lot of these situations that you were just telling me about, I honestly wouldn't have known that was sexual assault, like the math class guy or the frat brother or something. I wouldn't have thought, especially if I'd been drinking, my kind of gut reaction would have been to blame myself for being in that situation. I would not have known that actually was sexual assault. So my question is, if I were to find myself in a situation like that where I think something may have happened, what is the next step? Who's the person that you should first go to for that?
Definitely a great question. You've got to ask for help, because that's what we hear the most. You would not believe how many students come to me and go, yeah, you know what, I had way too much to drink and I woke up the next day and I just had regrets. Like one student told me she actually messaged the guy to ask him if they had even had sex. And I could tell based on her behavior that it was really affecting her, right? So it's really important, talk to a friend, get a real good support group around you. Make sure if you're in a dorm that you report it to your RA, okay? And then you must go to your Title IX coordinator. Every college campus by law has to have a Title IX coordinator. And what these people do is they take your report, then they support you academically, medically. They'll make sure that this person, while they're investigating the situation, that he's socially distanced away from you in your living situation. They're there to protect you. And the reason that this was set up is because it's a law that the colleges have to provide resources and help for people that have been sexually assaulted or think that they've been sexually assaulted. So just to recap, don't become a statistic, report it, right? Even if you're questioning what has happened to you, you need to talk to somebody, your sorority, who's ever in charge, the RA, the Title IX coordinator, talking to your friends, finding the support that you need to address this. Because if you don't, it's going to bite you in the butt. Here's some resources that I'd like everybody to look up. First of all, Dr. Phil has a podcast called Fill in the Blanks. He did 2 podcasts last July and August of 2019. One of them I had the honor of being on with him, and that was about back to school safety. And then he did a podcast on college safety, and we're going to get into this in our next video segment, so I really hope you join us. We're going to talk about how important it is to role play, to have an answer ready to go when you encounter people in your college life that are making you feel uncomfortable or might be inappropriate. Another resource, don't leave for college without seeing the documentary, The Hunting Ground. Have you seen The Hunting Ground?
I haven't.
Oh, it's great. It talks about the college rape culture and how a lot of times the college campus law enforcement doesn't address it like we think they should. So here, this is really important advice. If anything ever happens to you, make sure you report it to your local police as well as campus police. Because a lot of colleges, and you'll see this in The Hunting Ground, have been accused of covering things up.
Okay.
Also, another resource that I like is go to campussafetymagazine.org. And that's just a website full of campus safety information from anything from being at a rally or a protest to sexual assault, anything that's campus safety related. I highly recommend that website. Yeah. Anyhow, thanks for your time. I hope this has been insightful for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks so
just
much.
getting your point of view has been a really good, has been really great for me. And people, don't forget, subscribe. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. We want to know what's on your mind. We want to know what you'd like to see us address. Have a great college time. You're going to love it. And we'll catch you on the next segment.